Hello, and welcome to Let's Play Advance Wars. In this video, we'll be doing Campaign Mission 2. Looks like it's in the middle of Orange Star territory. Olaf says, "Grit! Grit! Where's Grit?" Grit says, "Easy there. I heard you the first time, oh bearded one." Olaf says, "Bearded one? Why you..." Grit says, "A slip of the tongue. My apologies, Commander." Olaf says, "Enough! Just get ready to move out. Now listen. Orange Star forces have been deployed right where I anticipated. Their commanding officer is an untested youngster, but he's not alone. He's working with an advisor, Sodruns. So don't let your guard down. Our contingent in the area has some indirect combat units for you to use. Now get going, Mr. Sharpshooter." Grit says, "What? You want me to go personally? Like, in person?" Olaf says, "Why, you lazy no-good? What do you think a commanding officer does? If you don't get moving..." Grit says, "Alright, keep your beard on. I don't much like the idea, but I'm going." Olaf says, "Gone at last. He's an impudent rogue, but he's also the best marksman I've ever seen. Those Orange Star fools will never know what hit them. Perfect. Ha 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 ha. Ho 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 ho." And it looks like I'm playing as Andy again. Andy says, "Okay, here I go." Mission 2, Gunfighter. Day 1. Nell says, "Sodruns, Andy, can you hear me?" Andy says, "What's up, Nell?" Nell says, "You've been given the authority to use bases to deploy new units onto the field. Sodruns hasn't received instruction on how to do this, but you're up to speed, right, Andy?" Andy says, "Well, Nell says, "Oh my, well, let's go through it again. First, place the cursor on a base, and then press the A button. A list of units will then be displayed. Use the control pad to scroll through the list, and press the A button to select the unit you want to deploy. Units that you can't afford will appear in gray. Don't forget that. Each day, you'll receive funds from all the bases you hold. You'll have to make do with that amount. Remember, you can't deploy new units and move them on the same turn. Hope you got all that. Good luck." Alright, Campaign Mission 2. First thing we do is we go to Intel and read the terms. Nell says, "To win here, capture the enemy HQ or defeat all the enemy troops. Good luck and move out." Now we're going to go to the CO tab and read up on our enemy general, Grit. For Grit, distance weapons have an extended attack range. However, direct combat units are weak. Grit's laid-back style masks his dependability. He is a peerless marksman. Hit, cats. Miss, rats. And for his quote, "What's all the ruckus?" Grit's CO power is called Snipe Attack. It increases the range and firepower of distance weapons. Alright, so let's talk about Grit's stats here, shall we? So Grit's indirect combat units, those being the artillery, rockets, missiles, and battleship, have +1 firing range. So an artillery will shoot 4 instead of 3, rockets and missiles will shoot 6 instead of 5, and a battleship will shoot 7 instead of 6. Unlike in later Advance Wars games, Grit's artillery and indirect units do not receive a day-to-day attack bonus. They attack with completely normal strength. However, they do have +1 attack range. Grit's direct combat units, those being the infantry, tanks, planes, battlecopters, everything except the indirect units, receives a -20% attack penalty, which is pretty substantial. His tanks and everything else direct combat related are noticeably weak. However, when Grit uses his snipe attack in Advance Wars 1, he becomes absolutely terrifying for 1 turn. Alright, so snipe attack increases the range of his indirect units by 2 extra spaces on top of the 1 space that they got before, for a grand total of 3 extra spaces. And it gives them a 65% attack bonus. That is crazy. It basically means that Grit will just erase your units from across the map for an entire turn. And like other COs, he gets a plus 10% attack and plus 10% defense for all his units. And when I said 65% extra for indirects, that was already included. That already included the 10. Alright, so that's all the intel. Why don't we proceed to the battle? Alright, let's take a look at this map. So there is a river running from west to east, cutting the map into a north and a south section with a single bridge crossing. There is kind of a curvy S-shaped mountain range going from south to north. I start with a pretty small army, 2 infantry, 1 artillery, 1 tank, and 1 APC. But I do have 2 bases, or factories, that I can use to deploy land units. Grit starts with a much bigger army with much more artillery. He starts with 3 tanks, 2 artillery, 2 rockets, a medium tank, a recon, and 4 infantry. However, Grit does not have any bases. So in order to win here, I'm going to have to build up my army by deploying new units from my bases. My first order of business is to get rid of this first Grit tank. And the easiest way to do that is to just bait it into attacking my APC. So I'm going to put my APC in the city here. Grit's tank's going to come in and attack it. And I will bombard with my artillery and also hit it with my tank. I'm going to allocate 1 infantry to capture the city where the APC is right now, and the rest of my infantry I'm going to send north to capture these cities north of the river. Looks like I have 8 properties currently, an HQ, 5 cities, and 2 factories. So my per turn income is 8,000. So I will build a tank for 7,000 and an infantry for 1,000. Alright, day 1 for Grit. Grit says, "Possum spit. This area wasn't Blue Moon's to begin with. Blue Moon is just plain greedy, that's what this is. Fighting for these folks just don't sit well with me. Well, I guess I'll just mosey on out and see what happens." He's moved his infantry west to capture the cities north of the river. He brings his tank up to attack my APC, just like I expected. The AI is not all that hard to predict. It usually will attack APCs. Nell says, "Sode runs, Andy, pick up now." Andy says, "Yeah, Nell, we're here. What's going on?" Nell says, "We've learned that Grit is the opposing CO. Grit is an indirect fire expert whose attack range is larger than normal. Plus, his range gets even bigger when he uses his CO power. Make sure you check Grit's attack range throughout the battle." Andy says, "Understood. Hey Nell, how do you know so much about this guy?" Nell says, "Well, we used to be friends. That's all I had to tell you. Nell out." Andy says, "Huh?" Nell was sure in a hurry. I wonder what was wrong. Alright, let's get a little bit of bombardment going. Artillery versus tank. Reduces the tank to 3 hit points. And I'll just move up my tank to finish her off. Boom. Start sending my infantry north of the river. Capture the city with that infantry. Move up my tanks. Let's build another tank and another infantry. Day 2 for grit. Alright, so Grit moved a mech south, seemingly to cross the river and try to attack. But he blundered directly into bombardment range. Boom! Reduced to 1. And I'll move up my little tank there and take out that mech. Now he's got just 1 mech left, along with 2 infantry. I'll move my infantry across the river to capture the Gray City, the neutral city, and I'll keep moving infantry north of the river. Finish capturing this city with my infantry. Now my income is 9,000 per turn. Real quick, let's talk about Grit's artillery coverage. So he has a rocket stationed in this city right here, and this is his rocket attack range, 3 to 6 spaces, and that is significant. I need to watch out and make sure that I do not put any units on the road directly south of the rocket. He's got another rocket near the HQ with a similar range. And he's got these 2 artillery pieces here that provide 2 to 4 squares of shooting range. Not good. Not good. We don't like that. We don't like to see that. Buy another tank, buy another artillery. Or infantry. Day 3 for Grit. What's he gonna do? Finish capturing the city up in the north. Interesting. He moves his recon in right up against my tank, but doesn't attack the tank. It's actually pretty good for me because I can just move my tank here next to the recon and shoot at it, and then finish it off with my other tank like so. Move my other tank up like this. Finish capturing the city north of the river. Now I have 10 properties. Alright, 10 properties. So my income next turn will be 10,000. So my funds next turn will be 19,000. I would like to build a medium tank next turn, so I'm going to just build infantry. Also, when you're playing against Grit, you have to pay close attention to his CO meter, because whenever he gets his CO power, there's that +3 infantry range and plus 65% attack. Insane. And by the way, Grit's CO power meter is 30,000. It has the same worth as Andy's and Olaf's. 30,000. Alright, I believe I'm ready for the next turn. Day 4 for Grit. If I'm careful, I can just like inch my army forward, keep it out of artillery range, and attempt to just rush in all at once with my tanks. North of the river, I'm going to take my infantry and shoot at Grit's mech. As I've explained before, it's almost always a good idea to shoot at a mech with an infantry, because you will cause more economic damage by damaging the mech than you will pretty much ever receive in damage to the infantry. He brought one of his infantries south of the river to what purpose I can only imagine, but it's not going to be with us for long. Destroyed. And I'm going to keep moving infantry north of the river. I have just enough money to buy a medium tank and an infantry. I believe next turn I'm going to go on the warpath and try to attack and knock out these artillery pieces over here. Day 5 for Grit. He's kind of moving his artillery, like, out of the way. Almost as if he anticipates the hell that's about to set down upon him. Move a healthy infantry up and attack the mech, reducing it to 1 HP. And then I believe I have enough firepower to just attack this enemy infantry on the city as well. Our first strike takes it to 6 HP. I'll finish off the mech with my 8 HP infantry. Move up more infantry. Shoot at the 6 HP infantry again, reducing it to 1. I like those numbers. Move up my 9 HP infantry. Alright, I gotta go on the warpath. I gotta do it. Now, there's a pretty good chance that he'll use his power next turn, so I kind of have to just be at peace with that. I'm gonna lose several of my tanks. Should be able to mitigate some of the damage, though. The tanks roll in and I destroy 1 artillery piece. Alright, so is he going to get his power next turn? Probably. So this rocket here is going to go from 3 to 6 to 3 to 8. So these tanks will be in range, but one space to the south of each of these tanks is not going to be in range. This rocket is going to cover a huge area with 3 to 8 after he uses his power, but I have something up my sleeve to prevent a lot of damage from happening. I'm going to take my 6 HP APC, and I'm going to have it be a nice tempting target. So whenever Grit uses his power, he's going to shoot at that APC preferentially with this rockets. Go ahead and move up the medium tank. And I'm going to build recons. 2 recons. Kind of seems strange to build recons, right? Well, you see, they're very fast. They move 8 spaces per turn. There's a nice convenient road going all the way from here to the enemy base. And those recons will be very effective at killing Olaf's rockets. If they actually get there in time, if the battle is still going on when they get there. Alright, next turn. Day 6 for Grit. Here comes an artillery strike. He's going to heavily damage that tank. Then he's going to bring in his other tank to finish it off. Kind of sucks, but that's what happens when you fight Grit. Alright, I'm going to... I got 3 tanks. I would prefer to destroy his artillery first. So, boom goes the dynamite. Artillery reduced to 4 HP, and then I'm going to bring my other tank. Finish her off. Then I'm going to sit my other tank on a city and shoot at Grit's tank, reducing it to 5. Then I have to be extremely careful. I'm going to move up my medium tank, but I'm not going to get it close enough to get shot at by this rocket next to the HQ. This rocket here will shoot at the APC. So if I put this one here, it should be safe. Actually, I can put the APC there. It'll still shoot at it. And then I'm going to move up my recons. Up in the north, I'm going to finish off Grit's infantry. Now he has no more infantry. And we're going to do some city capturing. This rocket actually could hit this infantry next turn, but it will shoot at the APC. And I have 11,900, so I'm going to build a tank and another rocket, or recon, actually. Day 7 for Grit. He says, "Sorry about this, but you left me no choice. Snipe attack." Here goes. It's gonna suck. Rocket versus tank, it's just gonna vanish. Yep, it's gone. Rocket versus APC. There's gonna be nothing left of that APC but a smudge on the ground. Boom. Moves up his tank to ineffectively shoot at my infantry. Alright. Let's count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put my tank outside of the range of this rocket. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just moving up my guys. It's challenging to get through this narrow pass here while it's covered by this rocket. It really is challenging. But that's why we play the campaign. We play it for the fun challenge, you know? Capturing cities in the northwest. And then I will build a tank and another infantry. Grit's got nothing to shoot at with his ranged units, but he's going to take his 5 HP tank and shoot at my artillery piece. Not really a whole lot of point to that, but that's what he decided to do, I guess. Move in my tank, finish off his tank. Move up my recons. I got 3 recons ready to just roll in and start smacking his rockets right in the face. Build 2 tanks. End the turn. Day 9 for Grit. Alright, time to go for it. I'm gonna roll in my Recon. Recon versus Rocket. The Recon's 50 BMG machine guns punch gaping holes in the rocket units, and then a second one comes in, finishes it right off. Yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna flood his area with units. Full-scale invasion. Bringing up more tanks. More tanks rolling down the highway. I'm gonna start sending my infantry west as well. Alright, day 10 for Grit. In an act of revenge, he's gonna blast one of my Recons with his remaining rocket. Doesn't quite destroy it. Brings in his tank. Finishes off the Recon. And then he's gonna shoot at a Recon with his medium tank. It's not even gonna kill it. Reduce it to 2. Alright, that's gonna work out well for me. Go ahead and roll on in and get first hit advantage on his tank. Boom, reducing it to 6. His medium tank, I mean. Roll in a light tank, take a shot at his medium. Boom! Reduce it to 5. I'll take my tank and shoot at his rocket, reducing it to 4. Take my Recon, finish off the rocket, destroying it. And I'll take my tank, go onto his HQ, and shoot at his tank. Move my damaged Recon back. Bring up another tank. Start capturing a city down here. Just for fun, I'm gonna keep marching my infantry east. Roll my tank reinforcements up. And then it's time for hyper repair. +2 hit points healed on all units. Alright. Grit's gonna use snipe attack for a second time, but he has no artillery remaining. And he decides to waste time shooting at my Recon, reducing it to 7. How useless. He's gonna shoot at my tank with his medium tank on the city. Now I have... I should have enough stuff to kill this medium tank. Shoot at it with my medium tank, reducing it to 3. Shoot at it with a healthy tank, reducing it to 1. Finish off Grit's 5 hit point tank with my full health tank, reducing it to 0. And then we're going to finish off that medium tank. Boom. That should be victory right there. Grit says, "Hey there, Junior. What was your partner's name again? Sode Runs?" Andy says, "Stop calling me Junior. I have a name. It's Andy." Grit says, "Well now, that's the spirit. Y'all are new to the Orange Star Army, right?" Andy says, "Yeah, so? Hey, how'd you know that?" Grit says, "Well now, that's 'cause I'm Grit. I was beholden to Orange Star not too long ago myself, so I'm pretty familiar with most of the military types. Well, y'all beat me this time. Who knows, maybe we'll see each other on the flip side. So long, Sode Runs. You too, Junior." Andy is growling in rage, but doesn't say anything. A victory. Andy says, "Stop calling me Junior." And I got an S rank. It's my first S rank. Should earn me 12 coins. And I gotta rank up. So previously I was a gray rat, and now I'm an opal rat. So like I explained previously, there are like 6 color grades per animal. So I think it goes gray, opal, ebony, jade, rose, and gold. So after 6 rank ups, you're gold rat. That's like the best of the rats. And then you rank up an animal, but you go back to gray. So it'll be like gray cat or gray dog or something like that. And if you play this game for, you know, hundreds and hundreds of hours, you'll eventually get to rank number 1. Maybe we'll get there, who knows? Alright, here we are at the save screen. That's going to wrap it up. Peace.